little while ago, I realized something a little bit embarrassing. I realized that I was spending so much time learning about art as opposed to actually creating art. I spent so much time learning about art concepts, but my sketchbooks, they weren't seeing much love. So I took a step back and I started to have a look at how I was learning instead of what I was learning. And over the past year, I've read a whole bunch of books that have completely changed how I'm going about my learning. And they're not art books, they're books about creativity and consistency and about growth. They've helped me stay focused and they've actually helped me progress. So today I want to give you 4 of those books that I've read. They are packed with so much content, but I'm going to give you one key idea from each of them and how I've applied it to my own creative journey. And hopefully they'll help you think a little bit differently about your own. A while ago, I was sitting at my desk, putting together another plan, color coding a timetable, creating a Pinterest board, and then starting another 30-day challenge, only after 4 days to throw it all into the bin and move on to something else. I thought I needed motivation, but what I really needed was a system small enough that I couldn't fail. Motivation comes and goes every single day, but a system is here to stay. So I needed to make drawing so easy that it would almost be embarrassing for me not to do it. That idea, the power of a small, repeatable system, and it comes from Atomic Habits by James Clear. Now, before you click off, I hadn't read this book despite hearing about it for so many years. And this weird thing happens that when I hear about it and everyone's talking about it, I kind of get stubborn and I think, oh, don't worry about it, I'll get to it eventually, but I never actually do. But now that I found that I really needed it with this focused study, I am kicking myself that I had not picked it up sooner. The biggest takeaway for me is systems over goals. James Clear's words are, you do not rise to the level of your goals, but you fall to the level of your systems. And that hit me really hard because winners and losers, they all have the same goals. It's the system and how they are reaching those goals that separates them. So while I've got that North Star and I want to illustrate some picture books, sitting at my desk chanting, I'm gonna be a children's book illustrator every day for a year is not going to move me an inch. Goals are still super useful. They give you identity and they give you something to chase. I've actually gotten into the habit, pun superintended, of asking myself, if I were a professional illustrator, what would I do now? Would they be scrolling for a tutorial or would they sit down and would they be drawing? But that mindset only gets you so far because we're in a world that is just filled with distractions. So here is the very simple system that I have built to keep me in check. I realized that the first thing I did when I got home was I'd sit down on my laptop and I would open it up, which is a great first step. But I would fall down rabbit holes and I would start hunting for a tutorial, even though at the back of my mind, I knew exactly what I needed to do. So I put a sticky note on the front of my laptop that said, when I open my laptop, I'll complete 10 minutes of gesture drawings before I do anything else. And even more than that, I made it as obvious as possible. My drawing program is the first thing that opens up. I've already got my gesture app that's ready to go. So when I turn on my laptop, there is literally no excuse for me. I have to do it. And it's so simple, but it really is powerful. It forced me to get started on drawing and not hunting for the next video because I often know exactly what it is that I want to be working on. But then I go off onto some stupid tangent that has nothing to do with what I'm trying to learn. But by doing these gestures, I'm getting the snowball rolling and I'm building that momentum to just get started and do something that is productive. And once I got this habit in place, I really needed to make sure I got the most out of my time drawing. And that came down to finding what I was actually going to draw and not get lost endlessly scrolling. Because here I am again on the couch scrolling. And this time I stumble across some damn cool artwork. And I think to myself, damn, one day that is going to be me. I tell myself I'm going to come back to this and I'm going to draw it later. Then I keep scrolling, I forget who it was and the inspiration is gone. Of the 10 great ideas in this book, this one stands out as the easiest to execute, but to me, it's also one of the most powerful. In Still Like an Artist, Cleon suggests creating a swipe file. It's a personal collection of all the things that inspire you and you're going to steal from later. Everyone's swipe file looks a little bit different, but this is how I do it. I try to stay off Instagram because I have no self-control. So instead, I scroll a website called Character Design Reference. And this is where I find artists that I really vibe with. And I've started to save all of their references and profiles and bookmark them into one place. But even the other day, I was hunting for a reference on a color and light study on Pinterest, and I found some random artist that really caught my eye. And I dug a little bit deeper, and lo and behold, he's a children's book illustrator with amazing characters. Now, normally I'd get really excited, go through all this stuff, but it wasn't exactly what I was looking for, so I would go back to looking for my color and light reference and completely forget about this person. I tell myself I remembered this guy, but then 10 minutes later, he'd be gone and I'd never be able to find him again. Ironically, I literally tried to recreate me finding him on Pinterest and could not do it for the life of me. Thank God that I had bookmarked him and put him in my swipe file. When I need inspiration, I go to my swipe file instead of scroll. And then the next step, if you want to take it even further, you can start to dig deeper and look at who inspired these artists. And this is what Cleon calls building your creative family. Before you know it, you've got this whole catalog of amazing artists that you can pick and steal from. This is just one of the lessons in all of these books that have really impacted how I go about my learning. If you found a book that's done the same for you, please share the love and comment below. If you want to deeper dive into any of these books to save yourself buying it, let me know as well, and I'm happy to do it for you. But collecting all this inspiration is one thing. The real shift came when I worked out what to do with all of that knowledge, even if I'm not ready. So sometimes I'm standing in front of my class, preparing for a lesson, and I have a look at exactly what I got to teach for that day, and then I have a mini panic attack and I ask myself, when the fuck was the last time that I added fractions? I teach kindergarten, for God's sake, so I crash course it. I teach myself just enough to survive the lesson. But the funny thing is, as soon as I get in front of a class and I start to teaching it, my understanding doubles, because I'm not just learning for me anymore. I have to understand this concept well enough in a way that I can explain it to a 10-year-old who doesn't care what I have to say. So learning something that you can share it forces you to understand it better. And that idea's changed how I think about my art. Instead of waiting till I was ready and had all the knowledge to share in the world, I'm trying to share what I am learning. I'm not an expert by any means, but the author of Show Your Work, same guy as before, Austin Kleon, totally reframed how I'm thinking about my sharing. The key idea that changed it for me was the idea of learning in public. It's really been a juggling act, learning to draw and making videos. But I found that they both flex creative muscles. And seriously, nothing has kept me more accountable than this channel. It keeps me asking, what have I learned? What can I share? That question has pushed me to keep learning, keep reading, and more importantly, to keep drawing. Just so I have something worthwhile to share to even one person. But then something unexpected started to happen. People have started to share their learning with me. They've given me tiny bits of feedback, or they've given me their recommendations. I gave a little bit and I'm getting a whole lot more back for it. Now, I'm not saying that you need to go and start a YouTube channel. Maybe it's an Instagram page or a small blog, somewhere that you can put your ideas out there. Because when you start to share your learning, you synthesize it, you clarify it, and you grow faster. And the more that I'm sharing, the more that I'm realizing the best ideas aren't coming from tutorials and they aren't coming from books. They're actually coming from somewhere way more obvious. I once saw an interview with Neil Gaiman where he was asked where he gets his ideas. He pretty much laughs it off because of how common the question is from beginner creatives. What do I even draw? Why is my character so boring? And the answer over and over and over again is life. Pro artists, they know how to observe the world and they know how to capture it. And recently I found a practical way that's really starting to help me do that. Matthew Dick's Storyworthy was not what I was expecting. I did not read this thinking that it would help me with my drawing. It's all about creative writing and storytelling, but it's helped my drawing in a way that I didn't realize. There is one key idea in here that he calls homework for life. Trust a teacher to find that homework is the thing that really speaks to them. But what a shock. Every day, your job is to ask yourself, what is the most story-worthy moment of my day? Then you write it down, and that's it. I use the notes app in my phone, so it's right there in front of me on my homepage, and then I later copy it into a spreadsheet that Dix recommends of the date and story. And the entire entry is 2 to 3 sentences long. It is nothing huge. It's so simple that, again, it's almost embarrassing if you can't do it. Dix talks about so many benefits, and I've only been doing this for a little while, but the biggest one for me is just noticing. On days when nothing happens, you're kind of forced to look closer into your life, and that's led to ideas that I would have otherwise completely forgotten. For me, it was one small classroom interaction where I threw together a quick brain break that would have gone completely unnoticed if I didn't write it down and I wasn't looking for it. It's a stupid game that I play with my kids, and I've turned it into an idea that I want to turn into a picture book, which has then led for me to start a little side project for something that I can sit down and draw and focus on. It's a little side project away from all the study that I've been doing. I didn't expect this homework to change much, but it's made me really pay attention to my life. And that is where all the real stories are. These are just the tiny nuggets that I've taken from these books. There is so much more in every single one of them. The links are in the bio if you want to grab them for yourselves, but you can also listen to most of them on Spotify. If you want deeper dives, let me know. If you found other books that you would recommend that I read, let me know. Let the people know, share the love, comment down below, and help build out this library. Take care.